A new report just came out saying that AI has driven 123,000 tech sector layoffs so far in 2026. If you are a manager in the tech sector, even if your company is doing great, this is your problem to deal with. My entire career since leaving the military has been in tech, and I've been on the inside of these kinds of challenges. I was leading a team at SpaceX when they went through their mass layoff in 2018, where they let 15% of the company go. One company I worked at was losing 8% of their staff every single month. In this video, I want to walk you through what you need to be doing as a leader to make sure your team survives and thrives in times like these. If you are a manager, there are 3 critical things you need to realize that your people are going through right now and you need to be prepared for. Just a quick interjection. I wanted to remind you that I run a company called Built, where we train the next generation of hard tech leaders how to build teams capable of solving the world's hardest problems. If you are an aspiring technical leader, an existing leader, or responsible for training leaders in your organization, please check out builtleaders.com to see if we can support you and your team. So the first thing is just the reality. And this might be true for you, but it's certainly true for the people on your team. Your team is scared. And so you need to be using this time to bring them together. I get it. You can't promise that everything's going to be okay, right? Especially if you're a frontline leader. You're not an executive that's saying, oh, we're only going to do this, or we're not going to lay off these people, or we're only going to lay off these kinds of individuals. You don't have that power. But as a manager, you do have the power to make sure everybody realizes that they're not alone. And that is the critical thing that you can be doing when people are scared. You need to recognize the reality, recognize the unknowns, and say, hey, we are going to get through this together. I remember one thing that I always took note of when I was at SpaceX that really helped drive a lot of innovation is something that we foot stomped every single orientation was if you automate your job away, you will still have a job. And that was great at SpaceX because it was Gwen Shotwell, the president, who said it. If you work at a company where AI is making all of these changes, you probably can't make that promise. But the promise that you can make is that if people are laid off, they're not just going to be thrown into the wind. You're going to recognize them. You're going to remember them. You're going to help introduce them to people. You're going to use your network to get them their next job. You can at least promise that people aren't going to be doing these things alone. And that by itself can reduce a lot of the fear. The second thing you need to realize with everything that's happening, especially that because of the fact that AI is driving a lot of these changes, is that alignment on the mission is critical. I always think back to the way Elon Musk talks about organizations, where he talks about organizations as a vector sum, right? So a vector in math is a direction and a magnitude, right? So each person represents a different vector. They have their magnitude, the talent that they're bringing to the table, and then the direction, like what they're pointing it at. And so if the company wants to go this way and everybody's vector is aligned this way, well, that's distracting from the mission and taking you in the wrong way. And so in the age of AI, one of the things that's happening is that even when AI is used correctly, it is increasing the magnitude of everybody's impact on the organization. And so if they are misaligned to what the organization is trying to do, it's just going to have that much more impact. So if you are a manager, you need to be specifically focusing on making sure everybody knows what the mission of the company is, what the mission of the team is, what the near-term objectives are, so that everybody is pointing in the right direction. Because the thing that we're all hearing so much of in this age of AI is the increasing prevalence of AI slop. And that can be videos, sure, AI slop, we've all seen it online. But inside organizations, it's even worse. It's people using AI in ways that aren't actually pointing in the right direction. And it's just creating more work that needs to get fixed later on. So if you want to make sure that everybody's pointing in the same direction, make sure everyone is using AI to its maximum potential in ways that's actually helping the performance of the team. Well, that's your job as the manager. You need to keep everybody aligned so that everybody's doing the same thing. And then the final step that you need to make sure you're doing is if the company is hunting, for lack of a better word, for teams that need to be replaced, for teams that don't need to be there, then again, it is your job to make sure your team and the people on your team are just that much better. The third and most important job of every manager is to overall improve the work of the team. And so what does that mean? That means you need to be coaching your team. You need to be thinking about what are their strengths that you can magnify? What are their weaknesses that you can support? What are the blockers of the team that you can get rid of so that the team can continue to perform? Right now, especially, when companies are looking to downsize, they're looking for teams and people that don't need to be there. It is ultimately your job to make sure your team doesn't get onto that list. And it's not about politics. It's not about making people seem better than they are or promising things that you can't actually deliver on. It's about making your team the team that is aligned and performing better so that you can protect them. It's just a fact. Lots of people are scared in the corporate world, and there's nothing that you can necessarily do about that. But what you can do is you can minimize the impact of that fear. You can help people come together, make sure people realize that they're not going through it alone. You can make sure people understand what the objectives are so that people know what to focus on. And then through both of those things, you can help make sure your team is performing better so that they can get through this in the long term. Hope you found this helpful. If you did, make sure to subscribe. If you have any questions about this video, make sure to drop it in the comments below, and maybe we'll be able to answer it in a future video. I will see you next time.